Hello everybody, my name is Richard, that's Tom, this is Terrifying Tom, and this week we are discussing the 1982 film, The Thing. Or Ting.
The Ting!
The Ting. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Terrifying Tom. As I said, with this week we are discussing The Thing, the original 1982... No, it's not. The original is like 1950 or something, right?
Yeah, like, I don't know what year it is, but the Thing, the 80s version is not the original.
John Carpenter, most well-known
version. The most well-known version is the way to put it.
But yeah, it is a remake, and there was a 2011 remake of a remake.
Yeah, I can't remember if I saw that or not.
I think I saw bits of it.
But I wasn't impressed with the look of it.
No. Not very. No, it wasn't the best film I'd ever seen, and considering, I mean, we'll get into this a little bit more, but considering I think that this film is actually a very good film, it's hard to make a decent remake of a film that I already find quite impressive.
Yeah.
But we'll get more into that as we go on. So, just before we begin, Tom, what did you know about this film going in?
I've owned it on DVD for years. I'm a big fan of this film.
So you'd seen this film before, I'm assuming, because as you said, you own it on DVD.
Yeah, it's just one of those films that when you're getting into movies, and particular horror movies, that you're told to check out. Oh, this is really good or whatever. I can't remember the first time I saw it or whatever. But yeah, I checked it out probably on DVD. It was the first time I saw it, and yeah, really enjoyed it. Very good film.
Okay,
one of the best horror movies. But
spoilers.
We'll go into that later. But yeah, it's a very good film.
So a brief description of the film. A US research station in Antarctica is infiltrated by a deadly, shape-shifting alien that can assume the appearance of its victims. It stars Kurt Russell, Wilford Brimley, and Keith David, and was directed by, as I said, John Carpenter. It was released on the 26th of August, 1982, and we will get into some of the details surrounding that release a little bit later on for the time being.
Yeah.
But for right now, it was we'll get into it. But so it sounds like you were quite a fan of this film already as we were going into it. So which is why I knew that you would like this film when I decided to choose this film going in. So, and obviously, as you said, it was in your DVD collection, so I was very aware that we could watch it for free. Turned out not to be the case, but we ended up watching it anyway. So, and we watched it yesterday, so everything should be fresh in our minds, hopefully.
So fresh and so clean.
So fresh and so clean. So, we open up our film with a helicopter chasing a husky dog through the plains of Antarctica, taking shots at this dog. And
already a terrible start to the movie.
Yeah.
Somebody trying to kill a dog.
Yeah, you're a really big fan of the dogs, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get into some questions with regards to that in a minute, because, as it turns out, this dog runs towards the US research station, which is filled with characters for this film. We get a brief introduction to a couple of the characters. Nothing too in depth really. There's not a lot of character building in this film, but I don't think that that's to this film's detriment.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah. The only thing I'd say is if you're not really paying attention to the film, there's a lot of characters in this film.
There's a lot of names.
There's a lot of just random, generic-looking dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not paying attention to what's going on, then you're going to be lost.
Yeah. But we find out that Kurt Russell's character is a little bit of a...
yeah, he's obviously the big standout.
He's the lead,
the balls.
Yeah. But he's, should we say impatient? Petulant?
Drunk.
Drunk, yeah. Yeah. So the opening scene you see with him, he is playing chess on a high quality, supreme graphics, 1982.
For the time, I'm sure it was.
Chessmaster, I don't know, Chessmaster 3000 or something, probably, I'm not sure. He thinks he's going to beat the machine. Then the machine beats him, so he pours out his whiskey into the machine to break it.
That's funny. I like that scene.
Thus implying, it gives you a bit of character development. He likes to drink. He's a little bit petulant. He's a little bit petty. He acts rashly as well.
Yes.
So, and then we get introduced to some other characters. There's the typical 1970s, 1980s weed head. Dude, come on, like everything's cool, man.
Really? Which one would you say was the weed head?
The guy with the vest on. Well, I don't remember his name, but he's not Windows.
Not Windows.
No, the other one that looks like him. The tall, skinny white guy.
This is where we get the problems with the dudes looking the same.
Yeah.
I don't think there's like an overly like in your face weed type character in this film.
I mean, the first time you see him, he's smoking weed. So, and then later on, while they're watching,
yeah, I vaguely remember weed being passed along, but I don't remember like it specifically being shoved in your face.
It's not really important to get into the details of the characters, to be honest with you. I mean, a lot of them are quite disposable. It's a horror film.
Yeah.
There are usually fillers there to just be.
I mean, Kurt Russell's the only like real big star in this film, isn't he? I mean, Keith David, I would probably say is a little bit more recognisable now. Due to obviously he was in Nope last year. He was in Community, and probably other stuff which I'm forgetting right now.
I know he does the voice of the president in Rick and Morty.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, I know that as well. So
okay,
that's who we're talking about if you're a Rick and Morty fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, at this point, I don't imagine he was particularly big star, was he? No. But anyway, the Husky ends up making its way to the US research station, and the helicopter, after throwing bombs at this dog because the shooting wasn't working apparently, land and then they, what would you say, accidentally blow up their own helicopter?
They accidentally drop the grenade behind them, don't they?
Yeah.
One of them smartly runs off, but the other one's like digging in the snow, trying to get the grenade. Like, what the heck is this guy doing?
And then boom.
And then boom, yeah. Surprise, surprise, he gets blown up.
And then obviously they're trying to kill this dog, and the language barrier is a bit of an issue. Obviously they're speaking Norwegian, and the Americans are speaking English, and the Norwegian guy just starts taking pot shots at this dog.
I'm assuming the Norwegian dudes don't know English.
I imagine so, yeah.
I mean, would that be realistic for the time? I mean, the Europeans are a lot better at English than obviously the English and the Americans would be.
Yeah, I mean, it's the world language, isn't
but
it?
yeah, for the purposes of this film, there had to be that language barrier, didn't there?
But he ends up shooting one of the American guys, and that turns basically one of the Americans to start shooting at him.
Yep.
And he gets killed.
He gets killed, yeah.
Before he can explain. Not that it seems like he could explain anyway, but he gets killed before he could explain what's going on. And now the dog is in the group, the evil dog.
Well, for the purposes of what we're seeing so far, this is just a dog.
It's just a dog.
It's just a dog.
At the moment.
If you've never seen this movie before, yeah, it's just a dog. A dog.
Okay, so on that front, this was the first question that I wanted to ask you with regards to dogs. So, no, actually, we're going to come back to that. Because at the moment, fair enough, they think the Norwegians have just gone crazy. They've gone stir crazy in Antarctica. They take the dog in, no problem, that's fine. But then, yeah, they're trying to figure out what's going wrong, what happened. They're trying to get hold of someone, and this is where we established that radio contact is not particularly easy in the winter in Antarctica.
Like 2 weeks, they had another connection or something.
So we've established that fact that they can't get hold of people very easily. So they try to figure out what's going on and decide to take the helicopter over to the Norwegian base to see what the hell's happening, what's going on down there. And that's when we find that the whole place has basically been burned to the ground. They go through, the whole place has been torched, everything's destroyed, and then they find a guy who's slit his wrists and slit his throat, and they're like, what the hell happened here? And then they come across this big block of ice, and it's just hollow in the middle. So they know that something's been dug up, but they don't know what. And then they go to the outside, and then they see the first instance of the body horror.
Yeah.
But you don't see it fully yet. You don't really see it until it gets back to base, but they've found something weird that they take back with them. Kurt Russell and the other guy who went to, is it Blair that went with him? I think it was Blair.
I can't remember. It might have been Blair. Yeah, I can't remember.
Anyway, they get back with this thing that they've found, and then we get our first look at it, and it's a mutant, amorphic, arms, head stretched, and it's just complete body horror.
We found this.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So now I will ask you this question.
Okay.
This is what they have discovered at the Norwegian camp.
Yeah.
The Norwegians are, for some reason, obsessed with trying to kill this dog. Now, you have no reason to believe that this dog isn't a dog. I get that. There's nothing that's been proven otherwise to show that it isn't a dog. But do you not immediately question, well, why were they so desperate to kill this dog? Like, so desperate. Maybe we should isolate it just in case.
Yeah, possibly. They probably should have done that. Thinking about, I mean, obviously it's easy to say because we watched this film loads of times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we know what's going to happen, but it's very hard to, you know, if you're actually there in the situation. But yeah, they probably should have found some way to keep the dog on its own.
Yeah,
away from the other dogs in particular.
I just find it strange because obviously they're, I don't know, if you've just found this really weird, creepy mutant creature thing, and you're like, I have no idea what the fuck this thing is. It is creepy and terrifying. And these Norwegian guys, who, for all intents and purposes, looked human, or, you know, I mean, they don't know it's an alien yet, so they don't know what the hell is going on. But they looked fine, and they were desperately trying to kill this dog. I would at least consider the fact, okay, maybe we should just isolate the dog just until we know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's no like hint of aliens at this point.
Which is why I'm saying you don't have any reason to believe that this isn't a dog. But what I'm saying is weird shit is happening. These people were desperate to kill this thing. Maybe this thing might be slightly important.
Yeah, probably. But for the purposes of the film,
yeah, I mean, for the film to happen, I get that.
Needed not to be isolated.
Yeah, but I just find it funny, you know. It's just one of those things that I've always been like. But like, for instance, if I was obsessed with that pen that you've got there, and I was doing everything in my power to try and get that pen, you would go, "What's so special about this pen?"
Mm-hmm.
You would just question that.
Yeah.
So that's why I always thought that was fine. But anyway, they don't do that. They eventually put the dog into the pen with the other dogs. And this is where we find out where dog is evil and dog is alien.
Well, for the purposes of the film, the dog is evil.
Dog is evil.
But obviously, you know, the alien being in the film is portrayed as the villain. However, the alien's just looking out for his best interests, right?
I mean, yeah.
So you saying the dog is evil is maybe not 100% accurate.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Obviously, you know what I mean. But for the purposes of the film,
you're right. You're right. I am judging and labeling the dog without knowing the dog. You know, all it's trying to do is survive.
Yeah,
it's like a lion isn't evil for eating things. A shark isn't evil.
That's it. It's all about survival of the fittest, man. You know.
Okay, good point. Well, dog, I apologise profusely for judging you before I got to know you. But yeah, the dog takes over all of the other dogs, and we get the real first moment of true body horror, and the what's the word I'm looking for?
Assimilation.
No, the practical effects of this film, which I think are just
pretty decent for the time.
Spot on.
Yeah.
I think they look great. I mean, you look at it and you can tell it's all fake and it's cheesy, but I mean, this was the early 80s.
I mean, I much prefer this kind of style of effects making than what we usually get nowadays, which is CGI.
Just random CGI.
Yeah, it just takes you completely out of it sometimes, you know.
I mean, I think if they did the practical effects, but it was enhanced with CGI, then it would look even better. But I love the fact that all of the effects in this film are practical, and I just think it looks great. It has such an awesome look about it for that reason, and it just makes you feel uneasy and uncomfortable.
I think it's a claustrophobic type of film, isn't it? Yeah, well, these people are well, I was say trapped. They basically are trapped, aren't they, in the Antarctica together? Like, I think there was 12 guys, I believe, in this.
I wasn't counting. There's got to be at least 9, isn't there?
Yeah, something like that. But they're all together in this one building in the Antarctica, which we find out like goes to below 100 degrees, right? At one point, someone mentions.
I mean, yeah, in the depths of winter, you'd imagine it would get pretty freaking cold, right?
Yeah. So yeah, there's an element of claustrophobia about that, and there's not much room for escape here. You know.
So that's the thing that I really like about this film as well, is that it has the sci-fi element, obviously, because there has to be a trigger that sets it off. But
I mean,
that's not the premise of the film. The film is built on the mistrust and the paranoia and the isolation of it, isn't it? You know, that's what the film is built on. The alien is just the trigger to get that started.
I mean, this film basically alien in Antarctica.
In Antarctica,
but basically, other than obviously the mistrust and the, that's the tension of the film is people accusing other people of being the alien. That's the only difference from the film Alien itself.
Yeah.
I mean, even the start of the film, you get the shot of space. You know,
it's
and then
the beginning of the film, the very beginning
I really
of
like
the film.
The title cards as well for the thing.
Oh, the
that's
reveal.
Yeah, it's very good.
But this is where we find out that Dog is in fact alien and starts trying to assimilate all of the other dogs, and turning into this big primorphic blob, basically.
It's
body
very
horror.
weird to describe, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll put a clip in here, but you have to see it.
You have to see this film to really take it in, you know.
And then they set it alight, and they think they kill it, and then they take it back to examine, and that's when Quinn is like doing the autopsy.
Is it Blair, isn't it? That's the autopsy.
Blair, not Quinn.
Blair's the doctor, isn't he?
Blair. Sorry, where did I get the name Quinn from? I don't know. But Blair, yeah. He does the autopsy, and that's when he comes to the conclusion that this thing mimics what it absorbs, basically. So it could mimic anything. And that's when no, that's a bit later on, isn't it? Then they go back to they watch the films, don't they, that the Norwegians took.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And that's when they discover that there's something out in the ice. And then they get back in the chopper and they go back there. And you find out that it is indeed, Dog is alien. We find an alien spacecraft. Then they find the block of ice that the Norwegians dug out. And then they put 2 and 2 together and they're like, this thing has been in the ice for 100,000 years. The Norwegians dug it up, brought it back, it thawed out, came back to life, assimilated all of them, took them all. And then escaped in the Dog, to this new camp, and it wants to get away, basically. And then once Blair, I'm going to call him Quinn from now on.
Tony.
Tony Blair.
Yeah.
No, Quinn. Once Blair finds out that's what's happening, he goes back to his computer to do some calculations. And again, spot on 1982, top-notch graphics.
Yeah, very alien-like as well with the computer.
Yeah.
Typing and everything.
We find out that, should this get into a populated area, then the entire human race, well, all life on Earth, I think that
75%, they said. 75% chance of...
Wasn't that? No, that was a 75% chance that at least one of the members of their team had been infected. Assimilated by it. Sorry, not infected. So Blair makes the decision that it can't get away. But this is the thing that's always been brought up, is why did he smash all of the equipment in such a violent way? Why did he not tell anyone? Had he already been assimilated by that point?
No, because the purpose of him destroying everything was
to stop
people getting away.
Yeah.
He was adamant that no one was to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, the whole human race would be in danger, right?
Yes.
So that's why he destroys everything.
But skipping ahead in the film towards the end, you find out that the reason he stripped the helicopter was because he was building that spaceship underneath the hut.
Yeah. But
so
at this point, he's not a ting.
You think?
Oh, no, definitely not.
So why was he so insane about it then?
Either he's gone very stir crazy.
Very quickly.
Or you could say, it's a ploy to get himself on his own. So he can do the spaceship. But I think it's a rather extreme way of getting there. Because he's like, I want to come back in. Let me in. Please,
I mean, I think that's when he's been turned, when he's like, let me back in. I want to come back in. I think he'd already turned by then.
That kind of makes sense, yeah.
I get that. But a lot of people I've read in like theories and stuff like that believe that he got caught after running those the computer program, but before he started smashing up all of the equipment.
I don't think it was before.
I don't think so either, but I thought I'd better give voice to that. So he smashes up all of the radios. I believe that he's done that because obviously he doesn't want anyone to get out. He knows that they have to contain it there, and no one can call for help and like send a helicopter or something.
The only
like
thing I could say is maybe he should have pulled Mac aside and I had a conversation about it. But I think he probably would have thought Mac would have thought he was being stupid or something crazy.
I think what's happened here as well is because he's read that 75% chance that one or more of the team members have already been assimilated.
Yeah, so if he talks to
he thinks he doesn't know who he can trust.
Yeah, good point, yeah.
Which is why he's gone a bit crazy.
So if he goes to Mac about it and Mac's a ting.
Yeah.
then you don't trust, yeah.
Then Blair's a ting,
I get it. Yeah.
So I think that's probably what's happened. And then he gets assimilated later on once, because you see that he's skipping ahead in the film a little bit, but you see when he's in that shack, he's built the noose. So he was going to kill him.
Yeah, that's
himself.
a very macabre scene. That shot of him sitting on the table and there's a noose in front of him.
But then
no one questions it
at
all. It's not even mentioned. It's just he's sitting there eating or something, isn't he?
Yeah.
And
he's just like, I just want to come back in now.
Yeah,
and he's like super calm.
Yeah, it's like no one says to him, well, "Hey, what's
that about?" Yeah. So I think that he went in there as a human.
Yeah.
And at some point, it's got to him while he's in there.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
So, okay. So, anyway, he's trashed all the radio equipment now, so they cannot call for help, no matter how much they want to try. And eventually, he will end up destroying the helicopter as well, so they can't fly off anymore, and they're only left with like two like tractor things, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining it's the case that they won't be able to make the distance in those kind of things. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been in one of those things either, but the cabs are really cold as well.
No, I haven't. But how far can you go in Antarctica anyway?
That's the thing. There's not exactly roads, is there? So
No.
yeah. So yeah, they're basically trapped there now. There's no one's coming until at least spring, and they can't call for help. That's it. They are completely isolated and completely alone now, which is where the paranoia really starts to kick in.
Yeah.
And they're all trying to they're trying to figure out a way to test. No, wait. Does someone that guy gets assimilated first, right?
They don't do the testing yet.
Yeah.
There's the scene where
That's it. They're putting they're putting the bodies into the storeroom, aren't they?
yeah.
They're putting the bodies into the storeroom, and then that's when the thing that they thought they killed isn't dead, really, because it starts to assimilate the ginger bald guy, doesn't it? Yeah, the one that got shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it starts to assimilate him, but it gets caught in the process of it, so it doesn't really complete, which is why it's got the weird hands and everything like that. And then they catch up with it outside and they burn it and kill it again.
It isn't Phoenix.
That they think, and then that's when they learn that had it taken more time, it would have looked like and sounded exactly like this guy. So it can definitely like become human. So now they need to try and figure out, well, which one of us is human, which one isn't, which is where that's when they try to come up with the first test. And it's the blood test, isn't it? Not the heated one. The
blood test. Yeah, that's right.
And they find out that the blood packs have been
destroyed.
Yeah. And then that obviously leads to even more paranoia and more tension. And so MacReady says that they should be tied up and morphined.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the timeline of what happens, because at one point MacReady's outside and they don't want to let him in or something.
That comes just after this scene.
Because that's, I believe, when the guy gets knocked out, doesn't he, and they had to put him on the doctor's table. Is because they wouldn't let
MacReady back in, and then
MacReady back in, and he's like gets the dynamite up, doesn't he, with the flare, and he's like, "Get back off, all of you."
Yeah. So the reason MacReady gets cut loose is because they're outside looking for someone, the guy who was trying to come up with the test. Because here's the thing, is they now know that the Ting can assimilate and become other people.
Yep.
And they constantly keep leaving people alone. And people are constantly wanting to be alone as well. And I find that quite strange. Now, I wouldn't want to be alone with one other person.
No.
But
I understand the purposes of being alone for safety.
But as an outsider,
yeah.
I wouldn't want you to be on your own.
Yeah.
I would want
if everyone's together in the same space,
yeah,
there's more chance of everybody being assimilated, right?
But this is what Kurt Russell was saying. He was like, well, like, I know I'm human, and I know that if all of you weren't human, then you would have attacked me by now. So at least some of you must be human as well. And that's why, because if it assimilated everyone, it would know it wouldn't be in any danger and it wouldn't have to hide. But it's trying to hide as the person that it's assimilated.
I know I'm human. And if you were all these things, then you'd just attack me right now. So some of you are still human. This thing doesn't want to show itself. It wants to hide inside an imitation. It'll fight if it has to, but it's vulnerable out in the open. If it takes us over, then it has no more enemies. Nobody left to kill it. And then it's won.
So that's my point, is that if you get everyone together, it can't assimilate anyone without you seeing it doing so.
Yep.
Whereas
Yep, true.
if you constantly leave people alone, then it can just pick someone off. Because if you're not saying, well, we all need to be in the same room, and if anyone's not here, we're killing that person. Because why would they not be in this room with us?
Yeah.
And I know if I do that, then obviously the film doesn't happen. But they're constantly leaving people alone. So the one guy who's trying to come up with the test, the alternate test, because they can't do the other test now because of the blood packs have all been destroyed. So the one guy that's trying to come up with the test, they leave on their own. They leave on his own. The lights go out, and then he thinks, oh, I better go and follow this random person I've just seen running past, because there's no danger.
Yeah.
So then he goes out, and they try to go out after him, and then they find his burnt body, don't they? And they're like, he either tried to kill it, or he killed himself so that it couldn't take him. But either way, McCready's like, again, they're in a group of 3, and they're like,
Who do you think this figure is that turns up in dark?
well, it's obviously the Ting, isn't it?
Yeah, but who?
But we know who it is, so I can't really answer that, can I?
Do you know who it is?
Yeah.
It's for B?
No.
Ends with a lair?
No. It's not him yet, is it?
No, I think it's probably him, yeah.
It's I don't. I think it's the guy on the table.
Has he already gone by this point? I can't remember.
He must have already gone by this point. It must be him, and then he has got. He's gone out. He's shut down the power, and then the doctor guy with the glasses, has gone out after him. Whatever's happened there, the doctor guy with the glasses is dead, and I think this is then when he gets Blair.
Okay, that might be
Because he's
him,
outside already, and Blair's in a different shack somewhere, isn't he? So I think that's when he gets Blair. Now there's 2 of them, so that when this guy gets burnt, there's still Blair who can then get other people.
Yeah.
And then he gets...
that sounds logical, yeah.
And then he gets Weed Guy at some point as well.
Yeah.
Because Weed Guy is the first one that they test and find out.
That's Weed Guy, is it?
Yeah.
That dude, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so then they go, McCready's like, you go back and tell them that we've found, what's his face, the glasses, and you and me are going up to my shack, and the other guy's like, why? And he's like, because when I left, I turned my lights off.
Yes.
And then that guy finds McCready's ripped up clothes, which then he thinks he's the Ting. I need to get rid of this guy. So he cuts him loose, and then that's why he gets left outside, isn't it?
Right.
And then McCready busts back in, and then there's the dynamite scene. And then he pushes the guy, knocks him out, or knocks him. I mean, he's an alien. He's not really knocked out.
Yeah, he hit, I don't know how that happened. He pushes him back, and then he gets knocked out or something.
Well, he stops breathing, doesn't he? So I'm guessing you're supposed to believe he's hit his head, but then if he's an alien, then his head wouldn't work like that anyway. Unless it was just an excuse to get close to the doctor. I don't know. But anyway, then we get what I think is the best scene in this film.
Possibly the most memorable scene.
I love
maybe.
This scene.
Clear! Clear!
Clear.
The doctor starts trying to do chest compressions on him. And then he gets out the defibrillator and he hits him once. And he goes to hit him again. And the guy's chest opens with teeth, closes back in as his hands go in, and he rips his hands off. I love this scene.
I think that's the one, if you've never seen this movie before and you see it for the first time, that's the one I was like, whoa!
Yeah.
That's the one that's going to shock you, isn't it?
I love this scene. I think that this scene is just... It's brilliant. I think for gore reasons, it's great. For horror reasons, it's great. For silly stupidity over the top reasons, it's great as well. I love this scene. I think that this scene is great. But then so this guy, the curly haired guy, isn't he? Slightly chubby, slightly stocky, curly haired guy. Don't know his name, sorry. He's the ting. And then MacReady starts burning him up on the table, and then you get the head ripping off from the body.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. It's amazing. And the noises as well. The noise this thing makes as well. I love the noise that this thing makes. It's kind of like a really deep guttural but multiple voice. Oh, it's so creepy. So creepy.
Is this when Windows gets...
No, that's
later.
That's after this scene, yeah. So then we find out that the head is independent from the body, and then they end up killing the head. But then that's when MacReady gets the idea that it's not one alien assimilating something. Each individual cell is an alien in its own right, and when they come together, they work as a whole. But each individual one wants to save its own existence, obviously, which is why the head could detach from the body and still carry on. And that's when he gets the idea about the burning the blood.
Right, yeah.
Now, this is a scene that I have a little bit of an issue with, because even though he's come to that conclusion, I don't know why. There's no necessary evidence to suggest that your hypothesis is correct. But then they start treating it like, oh yeah, he knows exactly what he's talking about. So when he gets the blood and he's like, he starts, so he heats up a copper wire and he starts rubbing it in the blood, and nothing happens. It just, like you put something hot in something cooler and it fizzles. And everyone's just like, see, I told you I won't. But they have no reason to believe that this will work.
No, and...
I mean, it does.
It does work.
But they didn't know that.
No, of course they didn't, no. And I'm sure that maybe there's a way that the alien could sabotage this experiment.
Right.
Like, maybe it's so advanced that its blood also does the...
Yeah.
Nothing.
I mean, the thing that you're supposed to believe is that obviously our blood is made up of cells as well, but they're all cells that they're not thinking cells. They're all cells that make up you, basically. They're not useful on their own. Whereas the alien cells are supposedly each individual cell in the blood is its own individual life form. So they come together and they work together, but they also want to survive on their own. So that's why when you put the heat in it, it's like it tries to get away. But my point is that he's just made this up on the spot. He has no reason to believe that this will work. But everyone is just like, see, I told you I wouldn't do it. And it's like, well, that proves nothing.
I also think it's kind of like, well, what other choice have we got at this point?
I mean, you have to go along with it. But it's just if I was MacReady in that situation, and I put the thing in and nothing happens, I'd be like, okay.
You say that though, but everybody else in the camp is pretty hesitant at the start of this experiment, right? They don't want to do it, it leads to somebody dying because of it.
Yeah, that's Clark, isn't it?
Yeah, Clark.
So Clark tries to stab him, and he ends up getting shot in the head.
MacReady tried to stab. I can't remember the guy's name. The blonde-haired dude. The one who's like, get rid of this couch later on.
Does he try to stab him?
Or does he try to stab MacReady? I can't remember.
No, he doesn't try and do anything. It's Clark that tries to stab him because MacReady's basically holding them all hostage with the dynamite, isn't he?
Yeah.
So then Clark gets a scalpel and he hides it. And then when MacReady threatens
Windows?
No, it's Keith David's character
Right,
with the gun.
Yeah.
then
So, oh yeah, you shoot me, man.
Yeah.
You're not going to shoot me. Oh, he is going to shoot me.
oh shit.
Yeah, basically.
And then he tries to stab McCready, and then McCready turns and shoots him in the head.
Yeah.
And then but that's what I'm saying is he's testing all the blood, and then everyone's like, I guess he was human after all. That makes you a murderer. And it's like, again, you still haven't proved anything. Because what would happen?
He was going to shoot Keith David anyway. So.
Yeah. So I don't think he cares about that.
No.
But the point is that what would happen if this test didn't work and he went through all of the blood and nothing happened? What would they just assume that they were all human then?
I don't think they probably would have, would they? But I think McCready would have lost his power at this point.
So my argument for this is basically
he's tied everybody up.
I believe that there's a group of 8 of us or something, and I believe one of us is an alien. And I just come up with the hypothesis, aliens can't drink water. So all of us would take a sip of water. And if you can drink it, then you're human. And then everyone just goes, yeah, that totally makes sense.
If you've got any proof of that before we do it.
Does he have proof that the blood thing will work?
Yeah, but then if I turn around and say, oh, have you got proof of that will work? Then you'll turn around and say, oh, you're an alien then. You don't want to drink the water. So it's very much like mistrust, isn't it, between people?
I just find this scene really silly. I mean, I get that they need to find a way to identify the alien anyway because it leads to the next stage, but it just seems really silly to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other silly thing about it is after they do get a reaction, obviously, and the blood leaps out of the thing, and then the thing, weed guy, reveals himself to be the thing, then he starts attacking, and then that's when Windows gets it. And he gets, like, his head gets eaten, doesn't he?
Yeah,
and
that's
you
right. You get the ragdoll scene, which is probably the only, like, real, like, kind of comedic, like,
looks a bit silly, yeah.
But it's kind of cool at the same time. The visual of...
I mean, the visual of him getting his head eaten is really cool, but you can so tell that it's just a stuffed doll that is glitter around in the air.
Yeah.
It does look a little bit comical, but the idea behind it, I think, is great. But then, then comes the next bit with the whole blood scene that I pointed out to you while we were watching it, is that if these people know that they're human, why are they all so relieved when their blood doesn't react when McCready does it? I mean, if you knew you were human, and like, go back to my water example.
Yeah.
If you knew you were human and you took a sip of water, you wouldn't go, oh, thank God for that, would you?
Well, because there's a possibility, as I said to you, that you could die, and the one thing you're always scared of is dying, right?
But if I already know that the only way he's going to kill me is if I'm an alien,
though. If you're in that situation, which is basically a live or die situation, obviously you're going to have that sort of like confidence that, yeah, I know that I'm a human, but there's tiny like possibility that I might die, or again that the alien might screw the test up, so my blood gets mixed up or something, some shit.
I mean, I guess maybe that's the main reason, but then in that situation, McCready would have to be the alien.
I mean, for
that to happen.
We don't see him give blood, right?
Yeah, no.
Do we not?
He tests his blood, but you never see him actually give his blood. No.
Yeah.
But he does test it, but you don't know whether it's his or not. Plus, the way they get the blood is really dodgy anyway. They're using the same knife that's cutting everyone's fingers. And it's like, well... And all they did is wipe it on his trousers. So it's like, well, that's not how, like... cells work, you know, like
this is early 80s, you know, simpler times. It's like 40 years ago, you know,
and that's why there was an AIDS crisis.
There you go,
because they were all sharing needles. I always found that quite funny though, that they were all so relieved. Oh, thank goodness that the thing I knew all along turned out to be true. I don't know, but anyway, they test the blood and it turns out that everyone else left is clean. So the only one left now is Blair. He's the only one left that's not in the room.
They have to test.
They have to test. So they go off to try and give him his test. and they tell Keith David, like, if he comes back without any of us, you
Kill him.
fry him. Yeah, kill him. So they go to do the test, and he's gone. He's not in the hut anymore. And then they find a tunnel underneath the hut, which then leads to the aforementioned UFO that he's building under the hut with all of the helicopter parts. So they start rigging it up to destroy it with the dynamite. And then the other black guy, I can't remember his name, sorry.
Stevie Wonder dude.
Stevie,
because he's listened to
Superstitious
later on in the movie.
But anyway, he sees a figure. We don't know who, but he sees a figure running across the courtyard central area between the buildings just as the power shuts off, and they deduce that the generator has been destroyed, but they don't know who this figure was. Was it Blair? Was it Keith? I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, they blow up the UFO, and then they make the decision that, well, it's trying to kill the power because it wants to go back to sleep. It wants to freeze again because it can't get out now. So it needs to wait for the next lot of people to come to then try and start again to get to a more populated area.
Right.
So they make the decision right there and then that they know that they're going to die, but they have to make sure that this thing dies as well, that it can't get out. No matter what happens, they have to kill it. So they basically find themselves in the same position that the Norwegians were right at the start of the film.
Yeah.
They start torching their own buildings. They start blowing it all up. And then they head towards the generator room to try and completely blow up all of the generators to destroy the whole place, basically. Just bring it all down to rubble.
I would say that at this point, the lack of character development is a problem because I'm guessing all these people have families and they have kids at home and whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, if this thing gets to them, then it will kill them and whatever else.
Yeah.
But for purely selfish reasons, they could be like, oh, let's just let this thing freeze. And then we don't have to worry about it for like thousands of years or whatever.
Yeah.
But they can't take that chance anyway, I guess, because they don't know who's a ting and who isn't a ting.
I mean, for a film that is based in paranoia and fear of other people and stuff like that, everyone is very altruistic. Yeah, they're like, we have to kill it to save humanity, but also I don't trust you. So no one ever questions at any point. No, fuck. I mean, I suppose Windows does at one point when he goes to get the gun. He's like, no, fuck you guys, stay away from me. I'm not dealing. I can't handle this. He kind of has a bit of a mental break, doesn't he?
Yeah, at some point.
I guess you could say Blair, when he absolutely trashed all the machines and everything, that was a bit of a mental break as well. I mean, he put a noose up, so he was obviously knew that it was final.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're very altruistic. They make the decision, our lives are not important compared to the billions of other people on the planet, maybe their families. It would be nice to know why they were so willing to give up. But they make the decision that that's what they're going to do. They're going to forfeit their lives to stop this thing from getting out. And is it the captain? I can't remember his name.
Gregory, right?
Is it Gregory?
I don't remember.
Get me off the fucking couch, guy.
That dude. Yeah,
he's the first one to get it in quite a gruesome way as well. Like he has the hand.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a good scene.
They're like,
that's probably one bit of the movie that made me jump.
when
Blair pops out from nowhere and just puts his hand in.
So he doesn't. I want to make this clear. He doesn't put his hand over his mouth. No. He puts his hand in
his mouth. Yeah,
and like stops him from screaming. And I'm guessing also like shooting stuff down his throat and assimilating him at the same time. I'm guessing. But yeah, he bites the dust, and then Stevie Wonder sees something in the dark, and he does the typical horror trope. They're still leaving people on their own at this point.
Yeah,
by
this
the way.
bit's a bit silly.
He does the typical horror trope. He sees something dart across in the background, and he's like, "What? What's that?" And he just wanders off,
Just keeps on walking
into the dark towards the thing that he's seen that he knows will kill him. Doesn't tell McCready, "Hey, by the way, I've just seen something down there, mate. Do you want me to check it out? Should we go together? Should I stay here? What should we do?" Nope, just wanders off, and then he disappears, and you never see him again. Don't hear anything, don't see anything.
I was doing some reading up earlier. There was a reason for that because they ran out of time to film a death scene.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so it was a practical reason.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't excuse the reason of him walking off.
I mean, I think the fact that he just disappears works really well. I like that. The fact that he just you don't see a death scene. He just goes. He's just gone.
He's done.
Because you then shift into McCready's view, and he's like doing stuff, and he's like, "You guys almost ready?"
And he realizes,
and then he's like,
"Shit."
Oh, fuck, I'm on my own. I didn't even know anything had happened. I like the fact that you don't see a death scene and he just disappears. I think that works really well. So I'm really glad that happened. But yeah, the reason he gets killed is idiotic at that point. It's just stupid. Why you would do that? That's just pure horror tropes, isn't it? Yeah. Stuff, yeah. There is no other excuse to do that other than the script told me to. So I like the fact that it puts you instantaneously in that moment. Because if you hear a scream or something like that, or if you see the death, then you're like, well, yeah. But if someone just disappears, that's terrifying. Like, I mean, that's just genuinely eerie. Fuck, I'm on my own.
Yeah, I mean, even like, in real life, if someone goes missing and they're never found.
Yeah, it's just
like whoa.
Yeah.
What happened?
How did someone literally just disappear?
Yeah, disappear, and then nobody knows what happened to this person.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. So I think that works really well. But then, so he's McCready's left all on his own, and as far as we know, he's the only one left now, as far as we're aware, apart from the Ting.
Yeah, at this point.
Yeah, and he's getting ready to blow the thing up. He pulls up the dynamite plunger, but then he gets attacked because he has to go and look. Rather than just blowing the fucking thing and getting out, he has to go and look, and he gets attacked, and it takes the dynamite plunger, but he's left with one stick of dynamite that he's already lit, and that you think, what's he going to do? And he gets attacked by the monster, and the monster opens its chest, and the dog comes out, and it looks great. But then he sees the dynamite, and then he does the most pointless somersault in the world.
The
little roll that he does for no reason.
Action movie roll.
Yeah, it's just I've already got the dynamite in my hand. I can just turn around and throw it, but no, I'm going to roll and turn and and he throws the dynamite, and it ignites all of the rest of the dynamite in the building, and it brings the whole structure down. And then you see him just wandering through the snow, and as he collapses from exhaustion, pain, whatever, I'm not sure, Keith David comes around the corner.
Yep.
So there's one other person left. Person, who knows, maybe, don't know, no idea. And he asks him, "Are you the only one that made it?" And he goes, "Where were you?" And he goes, "I thought I saw Blair, so I went after him." Even though he was specifically told not to do that, and if you see Blair, just kill him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we end with them talking to each other, like, what do we do now? And he's like, and then Kurt Russell's just like, let's just wait for a bit and see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's how we end. And
not quite. He hands Keith David the bottle of whiskey
drink,
or whatever.
Yeah. Sorry, he hands him the bottle
drink.
of alcohol, and they takes a swig.
He takes a swig, and then he laughs, and then that's
where we end.
Black.
Yeah. Which is a very ambiguous ending.
It's ambiguous, yes,
but it's an ending I love.
Yeah. I think, I mean, for the purpose of who is the thing, if either of them are the thing,
if either of them are the thing, that's the thing.
For the purposes of that, it's a very good ending. You
don't know, did it survive? Are they both the Ting? Are they both human? Is one of them the Ting? What's going on? Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a lot of fan theories on this and whatever else. I don't know.
Go on then, run us through some fan theories. I'm assuming you looked some up today.
Well, I mean, watching it back, I was noticing because the breath is one thing that gets brought up a lot in the ending scene. That Kurt Russell's character has a lot of breath, and you can see it coming out of him.
Smoke, the
whereas
steam.
Keith David doesn't.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that.
There's also Keith David walks up and goes, "You're the only one left,"
Yeah.
implying that he is the only one left, and he's not.
Okay.
human.
Yeah.
And there's also obviously he hands him the drink at the end, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like supposedly, is there actually whiskey in the bottle, or is there something else in the bottle that would give away that Keith David is
Like water. Because aliens can't drink
like,
water.
I don't know, gasoline or some shit.
That's water. Because aliens can't drink water.
Yeah, something like that.
I came up with that theory and it works totally.
Yeah, so he's giving him, something
Something poisonous.
Yeah. I mean, it might not be true. It might be it's just an ambiguous ending.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's the way they wanted it. But
I think I think it's supposed to just be an ambiguous ending, isn't it? I think that's the whole purpose behind it.
And the flimsy Blair excuse is a bit.
Which one?
He saw Blair and ran up.
Oh yeah.
Shit, and, he's told to stay where he was. It's a bit flimsy. So that there are a lot of.
I think you're led to believe that he is a Ting. I think that's what you're supposed to believe, but it's not revealed specifically.
No, it's never revealed or anything.
So there is still wiggle room.
Yeah,
for
it'll be just coincidence in people making fan theories and stuff. I personally don't believe McCready is one of them. Because he's put so much effort in the whole movie to stop the damn thing. I mean, there's a possibility it could have been assimilated right at the end. We didn't see it, right? But I don't really buy it.
No, I don't. I mean, the whole thing. I mean, the thing that you point out is that you never saw him have his blood taken.
Yeah,
leaves you with a little bit of doubt. But then, if that was the case, then why would he be so desperately killing the Tings?
Yeah,
if he was a Ting.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think he's human for the whole film.
Yeah, I believe so as well. Yeah,
but I don't think it makes a lot of sense for him to be an alien.
I think after all of that, no, it doesn't. And I think right at the end, he's just, it's like Arnie on the helicopter. At the end, he's just so, I've got nothing left in me. If you are a thing, then I don't know what I'm going to be able to do about it anyway. Because he says, I don't think either of us are in any shape to do anything, are we? So, so I think he's just like, I've done everything. I've got nothing left. If you are a thing, then...
I think he still has the flamethrower on him, right?
No. Keith David has the flamethrower, doesn't he? Yeah. I don't think he has any dynamite because that was the last stick, wasn't it, that he threw at the thing to blow it up.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on the film?
Yeah, I think it's one of the best horror movies ever made, in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get too much into whether it scared me or not at this point, because I'm going to imagine we're going to do that later, right?
Yeah. Right at the end, isn't it?
But yeah, in terms of everything this movie has going for it, in terms of effects, storyline, the claustrophobia, the ambiguous ending. Obviously, it does have horror tropes that we see people constantly being on their own or wandering off
the time
or whatever. But for the purposes of the film, fine, whatever. But it doesn't affect the enjoyment of the film. It's very enjoyable throughout. Yeah, good movie, good body horror, special effects.
Yeah, I love
what people take away from it more than everything else. And Kurt Russell's pretty big star of the film. Yeah.
I think he comes out of this film looking great. I think he's brilliant in this film. I think he's awesome.
Mm-hmm. But generally, John Carpenter's movies I do like.
Okay, so before we get into some of the details, let's do our new segment. Are there any changes that you would make to this film?
Any changes? I mean, obviously, you if this is are you talking like people?
So let's do two
in terms of the plot of the story.
Yeah, would you make any changes to the plot of the story to make it scarier in any way? And then, if you want to, we can also do a. How would you react in this situation? How would you act differently? But let's see. Would you make any changes to make the film scarier? Are there any changes that you can be made to make the film scarier?
No, not really. I mean, no, I don't think I'd. I mean, no, I don't think I'd change anything about this film, to be honest.
Okay.
Much or anything.
Any changes that you would make as a real person in this situation?
I've not wandered off on my own for once.
Yeah,
you know,
have everyone in the same room.
I think everyone in the same room would obviously make for a more boring movie. But, you know, that's in logic. If you're in this situation logically, you'd all be in the same room, right?
Yeah.
You know, or if you were the dictator or leader, you'd lock everybody up.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you would do that. I don't know.
I still think I would want to be in the room so I could see what's going on with my own eyes.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely what I would do. Okay, so let's get into some statistics. So, as I said, it was released on the 26th of August, 1982. It cost $15 million to
Not
make.
really an August type movie, is it really?
Nope. Which is where a lot of the criticism comes in for this film as well.
So you were saying how much?
It cost $15 million to make.
Right.
It made a very poor return of $19.6 million. It was considered a huge flop. It got absolutely slated by critics who thought it was a piss poor film. Basically, they basically just accused it of trying to just be over the top gory. It was really not well received at all. People obviously didn't want to go and see a scary horror film in the middle of summer.
Yeah, true.
That's blockbuster
I get that
usually.
point of view, yeah.
Most people didn't want to go and see it then. The studio that released it pretty much knew that was going to be the case as well, that they slated it for a release then, which would then also suggest that that's why they ran out of time to film that scene, because I think that they thought that they were going to have until the winter Halloween horror.
I mean, that would have made more
period.
sense than a late August release.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is people in the middle of summer don't want to go and watch a film about winter in Antarctica and a horror film. It's not really the time of year where people are going to really accept that well.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was up against this year, but one of the documentaries I saw that said that this was up against some big films in E.T. I think E.T. was out that time that time of year as well. And that was obviously about aliens, but that's a heartfelt family movie, basically, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, in terms of stars as well, I mean, I don't think Kurt Russell's a big star at this point. But
I don't think he was particularly
that
huge at this
no
point.
one in this movie that's, you know, blowing you away in terms of star power.
Well, this was one of John Carpenter's first films as well, and it hit him really hard, apparently, the poor reception of this film.
I mean, he had a big hit with Halloween, obviously, in the late 70s. So, but the reception to this...
This was one of his pet projects, apparently, and the fact that it wasn't well received hit him pretty hard, and he didn't take any chances again, pretty much, for a while. He said that he didn't want to make any big leaps again because he didn't want his career to pretty much be washed up, you know. So
I mean, I'm obviously looking back now. It's you know, strange to think this film bombed, and that it was the critics didn't like it, you know, because now it's like
it's a bit of a cult classic.
Heralded as one of the greatest horror movies ever.
Yeah, which is rightly so. I mean, not going to get into scores or anything yet, but I think this film is great. And yeah, it's a bit of a cult classic now. I'd say cult classic. I think a lot of people pretty much accept that this is a really good film now, don't they?
Yeah.
But at the time, it was really panned. It was actually nominated for a Razzie as well.
Okay,
worst musical score.
Wow, didn't like a bit of Stevie Wonder. I will say the musical score consists of do-do. Is that it?
But can I also point out that one of the best musical scores in most horror films also goes do-do.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why they did it, because it mimics Jaws a little bit.
Yeah.
And other than that, there isn't really much music going on in the film, is there? Because it's more a claustrophobic feel.
Yeah,
than
it's,
anything.
it's about tension really more than
Yeah,
anything,
it's a
isn't
bit
it?
of
So you don't
strange.
really want a big musical score because it's going to take away from the tension
very
of it.
strange.
But yeah, first film on our list nominated for a Razzie. So,
Oh,
however, this is our highest ranked film to date.
I've had a feeling it might be. Yeah.
Where do you think it would land?
I reckon it's probably somewhere in the top 10.
You would be right. It is sixth on the IMDb list of greatest horror films of all time as of the 17th of October 2022. It has a score. No, wait. No, I want to ask you what your scores are first, don't I?
Do you?
Yeah. I want to find out what your scores are before I put these in. What would you give this out of 10?
Probably say 9.
High score.
Yeah, it's very close to perfect.
Well, and I'm assuming that this would be top of the list of the films that we've done already. I'm guessing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Would this be solidly in your top 10 of horror films of all time, do you reckon?
Oh, I don't know how to go away and think about that, but yeah, it's got a good chance of being up there, yeah.
Okay. Well, it has a score of 8.2 out of 10.
Okay.
I would happily give it an 8 as well, I think. I think that this film is really good. I think it just loses a couple of points for me, like I said, just because some things seem to be very tropey and there's not a lot of thought put into them.
Yeah.
I'll always mark films down for that because it feels lazy when you just... Well, let's just have him do that because the script tells him to do that. I don't like that.
Fair enough.
But it is rated 156th out of the top 250 greatest films of all time.
Ooh.
So it is in the top 200 films of all time.
I'd say it probably deserves that distinction. I'm
Not
sure.
horror, all films.
All films.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a massive flop in 1982, but yeah, now it's seen as one of the top 200 films of all time, really. Rightfully so as well.
Yeah, I
really
think
do
so.
enjoy
Yeah.
this film. So, but yeah, I guess that leaves us with the final question. Tom, did this film terrify you?
I would say, like, when I first saw it, probably, yeah, but now that I've seen it, like, over and over again, sort of thing, I kind of know beat for beat what's going to happen, who gets assimilated and stuff. So it's kind of like, it's not really a film that's makes me jump or makes me scared anymore. That makes any sense.
Yeah.
But as a viewing film, then obviously, you know, it's a great watch as a film.
Yeah.
But did it terrify me? No.
Fair enough. It also did not terrify me, but
Nothing terrifies you.
it didn't terrify me the first time I saw this either. To be honest with you, I just thought it was really cool. I loved the effects. I love the underlying... It's the same reason why I like Alien, because it's the claustrophobic.
Yeah.
There is no escape. Where are you going to go? You know, it's not like forced horror where it's like you're in a house. Oh, well, I'll run upstairs to cause tension. It's no, get out of the fucking house. What are you doing? Whereas this one, it's like, well, there literally is no escape. Where are you going to go? So I love that about this film. This is a great film. I highly recommend this film, but no, it didn't terrify.
Yeah, I would say if you're, you know, a horror... I wouldn't say horror virgin. It's the wrong term. Horror newbie.
Yeah.
And you're, like, trying to get into horror as a genre overall, then this is definitely a must-watch.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, there's a YouTube channel called Dead Meat. I'm sure you've seen that.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Dead Meat, they do... I've showed you kill counts before.
That's right,
kill characters and
yeah.
stuff. The guy who's the main dude on the channel, James, The Thing is his favourite horror movie of all time.
Good choice.
So there you go. But yeah, definitely, if you're getting into horror, this is a must-watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. 100%. So definitely go and check this out. Not the 2011 remake.
No.
1982 original. Definitely go and check that out. It is a very good film. But with that being said, Tom, thank you for joining me once again this week.
That's okay. No problem. Oh, one more thing.
Go ahead.
I forgot to mention. Well, I was going to mention this through the whole podcast. I keep forgetting to mention there is one character in this film called Windows and one character in this movie called Mac.
Did they do that on purpose?
I don't know, but possibly.
When they came out in the 70s, right? They must. Was it the 80s? Maybe it was the 80s. I mean, there was computers, so it must have been in the 70s, right? But that's really cool. What a cool little fact. Well, on that note, that cheery, happy note. Thank you very much for joining us again this week. Stay tuned for the next episode. I have not decided what film that's going to be yet. So it will be a surprise to me as well as you. But until then, sleep tight.
You like this? Make sure you like, subscribe and check out another video on our channel. Witch Tea Entertainment.